Thank you for joining us. We'll just wait a couple minutes or so just to make sure people are coming in from the weight room. Great, I see more people coming in. We'll just wait one more minute. All right, let's get started. Welcome everyone. Just a reminder, as you can see on the slide, that this session is being recorded and the recording will be uploaded on our YouTube channel tomorrow, as well as our website at parents.ucsd.edu. Next slide. If you've been with us this entire week or have participated in previous webinars with us, if you can identify the Q&A feature at the end, at the bottom of your screen, this is where you can type your questions, and we have a team of folks from UC San Diego ready to answer your questions. We do ask that you don't include any personal information, and we will answer as many questions as we can. Next slide. So in case you want a quick reminder, you are here at the confidential roundtable discussion with parents and students, moderated by myself, Karina Vio, Senior Officer for the Office of Parent and Family Programs. Next slide. We have a wonderful panel of parents and students who are here to talk about what's going on today and just have a frank conversation on how we are adjusting to COVID-related life circumstances. And then after we move away from the slides, we will have a chance to meet everyone who is on the panel. Next slide. Again, today's panel will share life experiences of home, work, and study in today's climate, reflect on what they've learned from each other, discuss resources and or strategies that help to foster a healthy and learning home environment, recognizing that each home is different, and then of course, continue to reflect on their learning experience. So let's move away from the PowerPoint and let's meet our panelists. Awesome, great. All right, so I will call on our parents and students, and just say your name and where you are remote connecting with us from. And then for students, if you could say your name, your major, and your college. So I will start with Rekha.
Hi, I'm Rekha, and I'm connecting from San Diego.
Barry, want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I brought my UC San Diego mom shirt just for you guys. I'm in Thousand Oaks, which is halfway between Santa Barbara and Los Angeles. And my daughter is Ansley, who is up here too, and she's a graduate.
Ansley, go ahead and introduce yourself. Maybe you can add what you majored in.
My name is Ansley Urbino. I graduated this year, 2020, and I majored in mathematics with a minor in Japanese studies, and I was part of 6 College.
Awesome. And Nirsha, want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Nirsha. I'm from San Diego, and my daughter is a junior at Ravel College, and I have a younger one too, who will hopefully be at UCSD next year. She's applying.
Satya, want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Satya. I'm a third-year bioinformatics major at Ravel College.
Great. Is that everyone? I think that's everyone. All right, great. So let's find out who's in the room. Just a way for us to forecast our parents and families who are attending the session. Look for the hand feature on your screen. It's at the bottom of your screen. And I have about 4 or 5 statements. If the statement applies to you, I'm going to ask you to click on it. And then before I ask the next question, I'll ask you to unclick on the feature. Okay, so hopefully you've located the hand feature at the bottom of your screen. Click the hand feature or raise your hand if you and your student are sharing the home space to work and to learn. We have about 86 people here and about 10 people. So 10 people have raised their hand that they're sharing the home space with their student to work and learn. 11. Okay, go ahead and lower your hand. All right, raise your hand or click on the hand feature if your student is on campus or at their own apartment this fall quarter. Oh, good majority of you. Okay. Almost 40 out of 90. All right, go ahead and raise your hand. All right. Raise your hand if you and your student could use some guidance on ways to continue to adjust to work and learn in this climate. So you're here just to learn more information about how to adjust, what to do, how to do it. Awesome. A little over 30 out of 90, 32. All right, go ahead and lower your hand. Okay, awesome. Raise your hand if you believe that the more help you can get, the better it will be for you and your student as you find yourselves around this climate we are in. So the more information you can get, the better it is for you and your student. Majority of you, okay. Almost 60 out of 93 people on this webinar. All right, so we have a mix, right? We have some people who kind of have gotten their way around what's going on. Some just want to learn more, just get some guidance. It'll be helpful for you and your family. And others are like, you know what? I want to get more information. I want to know how else I can be better with my student, given the climate that we are in. Okay, so let's turn to our panel. So over the last couple of weeks, when we first met, you had some questions to reflect on, and I hope you've jotted down some answers to the questions. And again, we're here together to just learn from your experience as parents of a UC San Diego student. For one of you, one who just graduated this past summer, this past spring quarter, about expectations and how you've navigated your way through being at home, working from home, and learning from home. So I'll pose the first question and then I'll call on someone to start us off. First question, pre-COVID-19, what were your expectations of your students' UC San Diego education and experience? Again, pre-COVID-19, what were your expectations of your students' UC San Diego education and experience? Nirja, you want to start us off? How did you reflect on this question?
Pre-COVID was really awesome. My daughter actually lived on campus the first year, and second year we live very close to UCSD, so she decided to commute, and she got best of both worlds because she was in a lot of clubs and she was able to juggle work and like kind of come home as well. So yeah.
Okay. Reka, how would you answer that question? Your expectations pre-COVID-19 of your students' experience in education?
I was apprehensive being the mom of an only child. It was first time letting go, and the college experience was wonderful. He was on campus. He made a lot of new friends, and it took probably a week, 10 days, and I was very comfortable with him being there. We are like about 25, 30 miles from school, not too far off. So I get to see him, and it was a wonderful experience easing him in.
Right, awesome. Barry, how about you? What were your expectations of your students' education and experience before COVID-19?
Oh, we were thrilled that Ansley was going to go to UC San Diego. Beautiful area and great school. and excited that she got in a STEM program. And we absolutely adored Sixth College. The first year, the dorms were just beautiful. It was like camping in the middle of nowhere. And then the second year was on-campus apartments, part of Sixth, also beautiful, very nice. She got involved in some clubs she could tell you about, met some, good friends, nice people, got a job on campus at one of the eateries, and that worked out really, really nicely. And everything was wonderful. And our expectation was she would have a graduation ceremony, which never happened. We sat and watched the TV.
It was different. It was absolutely different this year. Absolutely. So it sounds like what you're talking about is that your student got acclimated to UC San Diego. They found their way through the campus with joining clubs and really enjoying where they're living, people they've met. You had undergone an initial adjustment, right? For Rekha, whose only son was going to school, you had to go through an initial transition and then finding their way through, and therefore you were finding your way through, so on and so forth. So with that summary of what those expectations were of yours about your students' experience in education, when COVID-19, how did your expectations shift, if at all? How else did you have to think about your students' experience in education when not just UCSD, right, but the entire country, the entire world, had to shift things as a result of COVID-19? Nirja, do you want to start us off with that? Any thoughts?
Sure. I was just typing Q&A, but do you mind repeating, Karina? Sorry.
Oh, absolutely. So I just provide a summary that most of you talked about your students' education and experience, that it was pretty good. They were getting adjusted to the campus. They met people. They really enjoyed their residence life experience. Some of you had to go through an adjustment yourselves as parents, which is totally normal. So knowing that your student had gotten pretty well adjusted to UC San Diego, COVID-19 happens, adjustments needed to be made. What were those adjustments for you? How did your expectations shift as a result of COVID-19?
Yeah, it was pretty hard, I think, kind of not able to see friends for her, and, like all the clubs suddenly cut off. It took, and it was also like kind of, the quarter was coming to an end. So that was also the thing. So suddenly everything adjusting to online. But after that, I think, she adjusted pretty quick and didn't have that many issues besides, of course, doing the clubs. I think they continue to do some of it still because, they were conducting them online and connected. So socially, they were still connected.
Rekha, what are your thoughts on the adjustment that needed to be made?
Yeah, I think my son's primary concern was how he was going to do his labs, because with everything grinding to a halt, would he be able to do it? Some of his labs he was able to do online. He moved back home for the end of the term, but then decided that he wanted to go stay with his friends in the apartment. And it was kind of, we were a little iffy whether it would be a good idea to let him go, but eventually we did let him go. And I'm glad we did, because he still gets to go on campus. And whenever he needs to go be in the lab in person, he is getting a test, the COVID rapid test, and it's just peace of mind, really.
Mm-hmm. Barry, what do you think?
Well, Anthe came home in March to finish her final quarter at home. I'm a teacher, so we were sharing the internet and trying to work with the sound and the time, and that became difficult when everyone was going to share the internet and divide it up. Last quarter, leaving her friends, leaving her clubs, leaving her life there, and she had to come and live with us. So from a child, young adult, smiling, who, 4 years got to stay away from us, except come home on holidays and live her own life and her own rules. And then all of a sudden coming back and having to go to school on top of it all. Many of the teachers, it was brand new, just like myself as a teacher. We find out, on one weekend, and the next weekend, that's it. School's online. Many of the teachers had no clue what they were doing, and some were wonderful. And Ansley, I don't know if you want to add to this, but some were wonderful and just said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I thought that test online would take 15 minutes." And all the kids were like, "No, we basically got a quarter done." So the teachers she was great. And she went in and she adjusted everything and let them take the test. And that was better. Another teacher could not teach this way. He just was incapable, and kids were dropping left and right. And as it came to the end, and this might give some of you all some hope, this was a very difficult math class. And finally, the professor said, "I'm passing 100% of you. 0 points will be a C-, which is what's needed." Yes, it was very exciting. I mean, no one was doing well. The kids were exhausted. The kids were scared. The kids were freaking out. The teachers were freaking out. No one knew what to do or what to go. And the kids kept complaining. And I feel bad for the kids that dropped out. So don't drop out, because he adjusted his entire schedule. Because I think, what was the average, Ansley? I think the average in the class was getting a 40% or something like that. You don't remember now. Yeah, it was get sad.
Yeah,
it worked out.
It did. And it was definitely a huge adjustment for a lot of people, for parents, for students, for faculty. I also teach myself at another university. So I underwent a shift and a change in trying to adjust as much as I can. I'd love to hear from Ansley and Satya about your understanding of your transition to, if you can think back a little bit, into the transition of winter quarter to spring quarter. What your parents have summarized so far is that the transition with academics, right? Coming home or going off campus, switching from in-person to remote, whatever comfort level you have with your social life and your friends and your peers also adjusted. So it was a lot, right? It's just to say that there was a lot going on. And if we had all the time in the world, we might be here till tomorrow talking about a multitude of transition. But when you think back in your winter spring transition, the adjustment that you had to do, but also the resources and the strategies that you use to be successful, right? So thinking about that, and then how you might have applied those resources this fall quarter, which will be mostly for Satya because Ansley graduated. So again, let me repeat myself. Think about, reflect on your experience, the transition, and then the resources and the strategies you use to adjust to it. Satya, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, winter quarter, I think it was pretty much, school was open until week 10, and then suddenly it was finals and everything was shut. I think a lot of professors were super accommodating during that time period in altering finals, making them accessible during multiple times for people who were traveling to different time zones. In terms of resources, I think it kind of depends on the class, but a lot of departments, I can speak to the STEM departments, have made extra resources available online. TAs are available almost around the clock, like a pretty good spread. So if you're not in Pacific Standard Time, then those are available.
What are
lots of classes also.
Can you tell us what TAs are?
Yeah, TAs and IAs are teachers' assistants and instructional assistants. So they're generally graduate students or fourth-year students who have completed the class, and they lead discussions and aid the professor in writing exam questions, grading, etc. A lot of classes also have their own, like students will create their own Facebook groups or Discord groups. So those are super helpful resources that we can kind of organize together, and professors will also set up Piazza, which is a chat platform to interact with them and TAs. So yeah, a lot of the professors that I've had have done a lot, gone above and beyond to make themselves accessible to students during this time.
So what about this fall quarter? How is it starting off for you, Satya?
It's busy. A lot of orgs that I was involved with last year, they kind of stopped during spring quarter, but this year we're trying to recruit. So for first years, definitely go on Facebook and look at org pages. Gonna plug BSSA for bio students. They have some great resources in interacting with professors and tips for first year STEM majors in general.
Awesome, great. Ansley, you had like maybe a quarter and a half left before the end of your UC San Diego educational career, and things happen. So reflect back to that moment and resources and strategies you use to continue on to the next 10-15 weeks of your time at UC San Diego.
For me, basically, as the other girl said, it come finals, everything just suddenly changed. Suddenly we were being told we had to stay home. I was basically had to like drop my friends, only see them virtually by texting them. And classes, all the finals were like, what are we going to do for finals? And the professors had to figure it out. Some of them gave us like over 24 hours to work on it. Some of them became projects. Some of them kept basically the same final format, just did it at home and still said, you're not supposed to look at your notes, which was dumb. But whatever. I think most of the professors learned from them. As she said, Piazza's great. During the following quarter, my professors would be incredibly helpful. One professor would just pre-record all of her videos. It was basically movie class, so it was basically just a short thing of her and then basically a lecture notes and just reading it as text. Another one of my teachers would go to our Zoom sessions live so that we could ask questions and be in a live format with her, but she'd also record those videos so you could watch them whenever you wanted after the fact, and that through Google Drive, so it was really easily accessible. And as well as there was like 5 different TAs for that class, which was insane, and most of them would also record their live Zoom session. So a lot of the time if I was confused on something, I would look back at the recorded lectures and the recorded TA ones, and if I didn't find the correct answers in my TA, I could always go to a different one. Another thing that got changed as we were going is that at the start, you could only go to the TA you were with, but then it turned out very few people were actually going to the TAs, so the teacher relented and then just said anyone can go to any TA. So if my time schedule didn't work out quite right with one TA, I could go to another. And it was really easy and really nice, really accommodating. As for other resources that I used, I would basically just talk to my classmates, try and see if we could talk and try and figure out the homework together if possible, which was also helpful.
That's good to hear. I mean, I think what both of you have just talked about is that, yeah, there was an abrupt change and shift in how classes were being offered and how they were being conducted. but that there seems to have been some sense of flexibility with your faculty and the teaching assistants and the instructional assistants, just to make sure that you get the help that you need. So it's really, really great to hear that. So let's shift just a little bit. The other thing that that I really would love to hear from you is, once you came home, so mostly Ansley and Satya, probably not so much for Rekha, but you might have a perspective on that too. Once you got home, your student is home, they're learning from home the last few weeks, month and a half or few months before the academic year ends and the summer begins. Is there something you learned from each other by being in that space, right? So for most of the time, your students been on campus, living on campus, and really getting to know themselves, getting some independence and autonomy and meeting people. But once they got home, was there something surprising about your student? Like, it's something that you learn about your student that you're like, oh my God, this is all right. I never knew that. This is pretty cool. Nirja, Barry, do you want to talk about that? Maybe Barry, you could start.
Sorry, I was just reading the thing again. Somebody was asking about Piazza, so I was just texting my daughter to go write about it. Briefly state your question again, please.
Is there anything, once your daughter came home, right? You mentioned at the beginning that, they were pretty independent and had really made their lives at UC San Diego, and would come home only during the holidays, right? So to me, that's a sign of, I really like UC San Diego, the San Diego area, so I connect there. But once Ansley got home, was there something that was surprising about Ansley? Like something that maybe reminds you of maybe it's an experience that they went through at UC San Diego that was refreshing to see?
Like a maturity value or something.
Sure.
One thing was cool is I teach ASL, and for fun, she actually had signed up for an ASL linguistics class and was going to do it in San Diego, but in her apartment, which I didn't mention earlier, in her third year, she was, and fourth year, she was in an off-campus apartment with 3 other girls. But so she came home, and that was kind of neat. She, let's watch the lectures together, Mom. And, this would be cool. And maybe you can kind of work with me. So that portion of it made like a nice bond for us, that instead of through texting or, other type of communication, we would both sit on the couch together, watch the lectures. And there were some deaf lecture people. So I was, watching that with her. And so that developed like a coordination, I guess, a connection that we would not have had. So that was a positive. And also I think too, so much of it was just such a shocking change. And, graduation, no graduation, graduation, no graduation, cap and gown, gonna arrive, not gonna arrive, sign gonna come, what's happening? And we were there to support her. She could talk to me and share the frustrations. And I think that was a big part of it. That was nice to have her in the home to share and discuss conundrums, her favorite word. So, we try to find a silver lining in all of this. I try real hard.
I think everyone is trying to find, the silver lining, just like you said, in a situation that is so not normal for all of us. Nirja, what about you? Is there something that surprised you about Satya when she got home that was eye-opening to you?
Yeah, when she got home and seeing her more, I guess before it was more dependency, but more independent. It was nice, like we could do more things together and kind of had more time, because I think although she commuted the second year from home, but because of being part of so many clubs, she got home late. I never got to see her. It was actually living on campus. And I just want to answer also one thing, Karina, if that's okay. Somebody asked how safe. Can I answer that now?
Do you mind stating the question and then answering it?
I think how safe is the campus and, that kind of thing, because I just want to connect like how she was coming home late, but it was, UCSD is like such a real safe campus. She could walk to the car park, get into the car and come, and there was no incident at all which happened. And I think like it's the most safe campus. Yeah, going back to like how we connected. So since she came home, there was more time to talk about what's happening. And then like maybe in the very beginning, before, after the finals of second quarter, we could do more things together. And I felt like, yeah, I know you said bonding. I think every household has that now. I mean, we have lost so much, but at the same time, we kind of have gained something, right? So in that respect, yeah, there was more connection as opposed to seeing her more too. Yeah.
Rekha, is there anything you'd like to add? I know you mentioned that your student didn't come back home, decided to live with some friends, but is there anything that you want to add to that?
He did come back over the summer. He was with us. He actually had planned to work in the labs, and unfortunately the labs were canceled, except for one of the astrophysics things that he was doing with his professor. So he decided to take on additional classes during summer, and he is planning on doing a minor in political science and a minor in math, along with his major in astrophysics. So he wanted to do something, keep himself occupied, at the same time have the link with the university. And I think he enjoyed it a lot because the summer sessions were, there were not too many people who had signed up for those things, but he got to know a lot more people outside of the physics department. And like Nirja said, coming back home, bonding was always there, but we realized that we sent a teenager and we got an adult back home. So
I think that's well said. And I think that's a nice transition to the next question I have for you is, you send your student to UC San Diego, a certain person, maybe a certain maturity level or a certain level of life experience, and then they come back home different, right? Different because they've met new people, different because of the classes they've taken, different because they've just had different experiences at UC San Diego. So with that in mind, let me read the question correctly. With that in mind, in what ways have you surprised yourself during this time of new normal? So are you surprised, if at all, by how you're parenting your student as a result of them being different from the student that they were 4 years ago, 3 years ago?
yes, definitely. I think he's more my friend than my son. I can sound many things off, and I get to hear opinions that are not necessarily what I'm expecting, but it's a very grown-up point of view. And that's nice because I think he got an exposure. Being from a very small family, just 3 of us in the family, it was like we were in a little well, and now we are in the ocean. So yeah, it was a good experience to let him stay on campus, get to meet with people, get different points of view. And I think it has opened me as a person and be more accepting of other points of view too.
That's great. Barry, how about you? Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing is she wants her own apartment now. It's to be on your own for almost 4 years and then come home to parental rules is a challenge for anybody. I remember as a child too, I had moved out and actually moved back a short time and then moved out again. They're so used to their own lifestyle of eating and sleeping and studying at all different times every day, and staying PJs all day if they want, which a lot of us are doing now, or at least comfy clothes, or going out late at night, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night on campus. And one thing I will say that Ansley always did, and this is important to share, is if she was walking home from school late at night, 9, 10, 11, or later, she called us. And we stayed on the line with her until she got to the bus. Then we knew she was safely on the bus. And then she would get out of the bus and walk to her apartment. This is when she was off campus for the last 2 years. And let us know that she was safe in her apartment, because we still worried. And it's late at night, even though La Jolla is very safe, things happen everywhere and anywhere. And so that was something really nice that, I think she instilled in herself to do that to us. And now no one's going out at all anywhere. And I think that's hard for her too. But, it's such a change. And this may come up later, but finding jobs, there aren't any. And for kids that are recent graduates, it's so hard. And so then that's a whole different thing. I went to this wonderful school. I got a terrific degree. Now what do I do? And so that's been very hard to deal with that aspect. But she's, obviously grown and matured. And again, on the other side of maturity is, I want to be on my own again. But I need a job and I need money.
Well, it's something that Ansley has gotten used to as well, too, right? Is getting her independence and autonomy from her experience at UCSD. Nirja, anything you want to add to that?
I echo with them how they go out from home and they become, the young adults, and honestly, like the amount of knowledge that they gain and you have discussions is amazing. I'm sure every parent goes through this. And I feel that the senior year when they're in high school, everybody used to say, oh, that flies by. And I relate that to kindergarten and your senior year. And then, they're totally young adults and have their own maturity. But no, that's about it. Yeah.
Awesome. There's a few questions in the Q&A. So let's read a couple of them and see if we can address some of them. So I see, would like to hear comments from first-year freshman parents whose child moved to on-campus housing a month ago. So you are not parents of first-year students. Sathia's a junior, I believe, right? And then Ansley just graduated. Rekha, your student's a third year?
Yes, he is.
Okay. So anything, times are different, right? When we think about the question of what campus life is like a month ago versus what it was, last year, things are very different. I would have to say, for the parent who asked the question, let me see, would like to hear comments from first-year parents about whose child moved to campus. We might be able to connect you with one of our parent ambassadors. We have 100 parent ambassadors who could serve as a contact for you to maybe connect and talk about the on-campus experience from a month ago. If your question is related to social life on campus, as it looks like now, we can connect you with someone from Residence Life, your college Residence Life, and see what social activities they are offering to students, especially first-year students at UC San Diego. But what this reminds me of, maybe for Ansley and maybe mostly for Sathya, in what ways are you remaining connected to UC San Diego, like peer clubs and social activities? How are you finding about them? So maybe talk a little bit about that. Sathya, you want to go first?
So with regards to social activities, I think obviously, like, I have a few group chats with my friends, and then group chats with different for different classes, and some of the orgs that I'm involved in, we do sometimes like movie nights or game nights or stuff, so everyone connects virtually. And yeah, so it's definitely difficult compared to being able to hang out together in person, but a lot of it is just, yeah, trying to make it work. So definitely using social media, I think, to connect via gaming a lot of the time. And then yeah, sometimes we've done things like someone will set up Netflix and then put it on Zoom and then watch it together. And yeah.
Ansley, any suggestion for a parent of a first-year student on how to connect on campus?
The only thing that I could really say is there are, as far as I know, there are plenty of clubs that are still going on via different social medias like Discord or Zoom or a combination of both. I know that the one I was a part of, Combo Club or Inc., as they changed their name, is still going. I see them still making, I'm still technically part of that group, so I see them making plans. So it's still going. So I assume other clubs are as well. And yeah, as Saya said, we have video game nights. We played Jackbox Party one time. We also have watch movies. We've done that. Still a lot of fun to keep in contact with them, and otherwise just hang out with your friends. I also have a group, friend group, where once or twice a week I hang out with them and play games with them. So I'm still in contact with my friends via social media. That's basically what I've got. Just try and reach out to different people in your classes. I guess start with saying want to exchange notes, and then try and create friends, and then definitely try and find clubs and then create friends there, because that's how I found some of my best friends.
So, Karina,
Yeah,
I want to add to this. My son stays with 4 other roommates. They have been his roommates since his first year. So they all got an apartment together. And I think they're having fun cooking too, all the boys. So they are experimenting with foods from all over the world. And I get calls sometime. It's like, okay, we found this. Can you tell me what this is? And so it's they're having fun in their own little ways. So yeah, apart from video games
Yeah, you
and
gotta be creative. Absolutely. You definitely have to be creative. And it's easier for, the students who are living together in the same apartment or maybe in the same floor. They have that bubble and they're trying out new things.
right.
But it also sounds like from Ansley and Satya that there's a need to reach out, especially for the students who are learning from home. There's a need to reach out and initiate contact with folks that you met either through class or within your residence hall. On that same breath, we have another question or comment from a family member. My student is a freshman who just moved in about a month ago, so similar to the previous statement. While she is relatively happy on campus, she would like to meet her classmates in person. While she knows that there are many Zoom meetings, it seems that she and a lot of her class are tired, maybe classes are tired of Zoom after being on it all day. I'm concerned that the isolation is getting more and more difficult for these kids. So it sounds like your student is on campus. Yeah, social distancing is one of the main things that students have to do when they're on campus. It doesn't stop students from taking walks together or hikes together from a social distance perspective. So there is that opportunity for your student who's on campus and meeting some folks or are on the same floor to be able to do that. And like the Ansley and Satya mentioned, making that initiation and getting in touch with folks virtually to meet people, and maybe not meet via Zoom, but meet in a different way, whether it's a phone call, maybe going back to making phone calls if you're tired of doing Zoom is one way of moving away from the Zoom world. The other thing I would add for this parent who just added this comment is that earlier this week, we did a session on home base, maximizing your space with your home space with your student and your family member. There's great information on there on how to not feel so isolated, stretching, and other ways of meeting people. So I encourage you to check out that video on our YouTube channel, UCSD Families. Okay, I think, let's see what else we have here. I think this is kind of similar to, it's been challenging and isolating time for all, but especially for first-year students who are living on campus and finding it difficult to establish a social support system, despite joining clubs and trying to reach out to other students living on campus, combined with many in-person classes, labs transitioning to remote learning. Yes. Will UCSD continue to be accommodating to students who are currently living on campus, but are considering moving back home after first quarter due to special COVID-related challenges? I'm sure that's something that is on upper administration minds in terms of what students might decide to do, especially with Thanksgiving really around the corner. It's next month, and whether or not students will continue to live on campus or decide to go back home. What I would say is to wait and see what UC San Diego decides to do, or options that will be provided to students on what they can do, whether they want to remain on campus for Thanksgiving holiday or go back home, or exploring the same options when Christmas holiday comes around the corner. So be on the lookout for more information. Return to Learn is a great website to stay abreast of what's happening. So there seems to be a lot of comments about first year experience. I also would say to families that your students should check out their residence hall activities. I'm aware that every residence hall, all 7 colleges, are doing what they can to make sure that students feel connected on campus. There's also the student union virtual that also offers a lot of different ways for students to stay connected and do activities virtually. Okay, here's another question. Maybe I can change that up just a little bit. How is UCSD addressing mental health issues in students during COVID-19? So maybe for Satya and maybe for Rekha, how are you taking care of yourselves? How are you making sure that you're well, you're physically, emotionally, spiritually well? What are some things that you're doing for yourself? What resources are you using from UCSD that can help you stay holistically well? Rekha, do you want to start?
I try to use the breathing app, the meditation app, where I try to calm myself down when I go in a panic mode. And basically, there are so many things that are available online. So once you start reading the things up, it helps you calm down quite a bit. It lets you know that you're not alone. You're not facing this all by yourself. We're all in it together. And pretty much everyone has the same kind of questions or similar questions. And no one really has any concrete answers. So it's just like taking small baby steps and trying to figure out what works for that particular day and move forward. So I try to touch base with my son every day. So we have to text each other either once during the day or just before going to bed just to know that both of us are doing okay. So
Those are great suggestions. Satya, what are you doing and what resources are you using to stay well and be present either socially or academically?
In terms of resources, I think definitely, especially for first year students, finding that balance between schoolwork and your social life, maintaining sleep if they're working, etc., is super difficult. And I think it's always important to take care of your health first, because otherwise things spiral out of control. Like I can tell you, I got food poisoning my first year, and then that was just a moment where I had to stop and be like, what am I doing? And so definitely taking care of yourself and your mental health. I think CAPS, I personally haven't used it, but is a great resource. And I believe they have virtual appointments online, but I can't really speak to how useful that is since I haven't used it personally. For students living on campus, even if you aren't best friends with your roommates, definitely hang out with them. You're physically in a small space with them, and it's good to obviously have some interaction in that way, because I think a lot of the mental health issues that many people are dealing with right now come from isolation. And with regards to other resources, I think, yeah, always taking time to take care of yourself. Many professors, I think, are trying to be as accommodating as possible. And, if you explain, and especially, challenging situation to them, many are trying to accommodate, moving schoolwork around or accepting late work during these times.
Nirja, is there anything you'd like to add to that? How you're supporting your daughter with her holistic wellness and yours maybe too?
Yeah, I think just connecting, I think like Rika said, or like even like what Satya was saying, connecting with friends, family, whoever you want to talk to, never bottle it up is what I want to say. It's very important because we can't see people. Being safe is the first prior important thing. And then just connecting however you can, and don't think that you're alone in this, which we all know. But kind of re-emphasize to to your student or to yourself, we're all in this together. That's the major.
Yeah, I want to reiterate, CAPS is Counseling and Psychological Services at UC San Diego, and they have virtual appointments that your students can make and meet with someone about what they're going through. It's a service open to all students, and also in terms of connecting with someone, which we've heard today, is connecting with resident assistants or residence life, a faculty member, teaching assistant. Again, making that extra effort to connect with someone, maybe an effort that your student maybe hasn't used before, but because we are where we are, to be able to do that on their own. It might also mean if your student is living on campus or living in their own apartment, it might also mean connecting with your student more often than before via Zoom or Google Meet or texting or phone call, so that they do get that connection with you, a family member. So we definitely encourage using some of those resources that exist at UC San Diego. I also invite you families to check out parents.ucsd.edu. I'll go over that slide too on other forms of information that you can learn from us, particularly from our calendar page, where we list a number of different resources for you that you can share with your student. So on that note, we only have about a couple minutes. If we could go back to our slides. And next slide, perfect. So just a reminder, we still have a couple more events as part of the Homecoming at Home celebration. Please join us this Saturday for the Family of the Year Award celebration at 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific Coast time. Soon after that, and this could actually be really good for you based on the many comments that I saw here about connecting in community. please log on to the fireside chat with your students' college. Every college, academic advising, the provost, the dean of student affairs, staff will be at these fireside chat. And these are the people that are in connection with your student, probably more so than any other person on campus, or just equally as faculty members. So I invite you to definitely check out this virtual session where many of your questions about community, connection, socializing can be answered during that time. Next slide. And then as part of our pre-registrants, I wanna let you know that we have future webinars on the horizon on a number of different topics. This is just a few of them, providing a holistic view of UC San Diego's student experience, the tale of two worlds, navigating home community and university community. This is particularly for our first generation students and their families. Top questions to ask, your student can ask their academic advisor. For our graduating students, how to support your student after the journey at UC San Diego, and why mentors, communities, and campus involvement matter as part of your student's experience. So look out for those. We will definitely send email blasts about them so you can register and know when to log on to these sessions. Next slide. Again, homecoming at home, there's plenty still going on up until Sunday. So do check us out at homecoming.ucsd.edu. At the bottom of the screen is also information on how to contact us, the Office of Parent and Family Programs. Dan Perez, our program coordinator, or myself will be happy to answer any inquiries as a result of this session, or any inquiries you might have outside of this session. So if we could just go back to our panel view. So we just want to thank you. I want to thank the panel, the students, everyone who's helped support this session. I hope this was helpful for you attendees. And again, we hope to see you later on this week, and for sure get in contact with us if you have any questions. Thank you. Goodbye.